One country legend walked out on stage in an outfit so tight, a preacher in the front row stood up and left. And she said, "Good. Tonight we're counting down the most jaw-dropping, eyebrow-raising, church lady-fainting outfits in country music tour history." These weren't accidents. Every single one of these outfits was a choice, a statement, sometimes a rebellion. And the stories behind them, the feuds they started, the headlines they made, the careers they almost ended, that's what nobody talks about anymore. Let's look back at 5 outfits that genuinely shocked America. And one of them, the one we're saving for last, caused a controversy so big it made the national news. Stick around, because number 3 on this list involves a legend we all love, and a costume decision that stunned even her own band. Let's start at the beginning, because before anyone else dared to stand out on a country stage, there was Porter Wagoner. Now, Porter wasn't just a singer, he was a walking piece of art. He commissioned his suits from a tailor named Nudie Cohn, the same man who dressed Hank Williams and Elvis, and Porter took it further than anyone. We're talking full rhinestone coverage, covered wagons embroidered across the back, scenes from the Bible stitched right into the fabric. One suit reportedly cost more than most people's cars at the time. Now here's what people forget. When Porter first wore those suits on the Grand Ole Opry, there were members of the establishment who said it was too much. Too flashy, too showy, too Hollywood. But Porter didn't flinch. He wore them prouder every single week. And the fans, they loved every single rhinestone. Porter understood something that the critics didn't, that country music was always about the show, about making the people in the cheap seats feel like they got a special show. Porter Wagoner built the template. But the women who came after him, they took that template and blew the roof off. By 1978, Dolly Parton was making a move. She'd left Porter's show, she was chasing a crossover audience, and she showed up on tour that year in costumes that made half of Nashville nervous. We're talking deeply cut necklines, skin-tight sequin gowns, feather boas that dragged across the stage floor. The look was part Vegas, part Hollywood glamour, part pure Dolly. And the criticism came fast. Some country radio programmers said she'd abandoned her roots. Fan magazines ran letters from listeners who felt she'd changed. But here's what Dolly said, and she said it with that big smile. She said, "It costs a lot of money to look this cheap." That line became one of the most quoted things she ever said. Because it told you everything. She knew exactly what she was doing. The look was deliberate. The glamour was armor. And underneath all that glitter was still the girl from the Smoky Mountains who never forgot where she came from. By the end of that tour, the critics had gone quiet. The tickets had sold out. Dolly won. But hold on, because the next outfit on our list didn't come with a happy ending. This one almost ended a career entirely. In the late 1970s, Tanya Tucker walked out on stages across America in outfits that the country music world was simply not ready for. Barely out of her teens, already a star. She'd already had massive hits, Delta Dawn, Would You Lay With Me, songs that pushed boundaries lyrically. But this was different. This was visual. This was right in front of everybody. Fan letters flooded in, and not the good kind. Industry voices spoke up publicly. A handful of country venues quietly made their preferences known. Churches across the South used her as a cautionary tale, and we do mean that literally. Preachers named her by name on Sunday mornings. Now, here's the part that gets lost in the retelling. Tanya Tucker did not back down. She did not apologize. She did not come out in a prairie dress the next week to make peace with anybody. She kept performing. She kept pushing. And she kept charting in leather pants. Decades later, Tanya Tucker is still recording, still touring, and still dressing exactly how she wants. The people who judged her? Long forgotten. Tanya Tucker? Timeless. Now, we've covered flash, we've covered glamour, we've covered rebellion. But the next outfit on our list is different. It didn't just raise eyebrows, it raised questions about what country music was even allowed to look like. Glenn Campbell was one of the most gifted musicians to ever walk a country stage. Guitar player, vocalist, session legend. The man played on hundreds of hit records before anyone knew his name. And by the mid-70s, he was a superstar. His TV show was pulling in massive ratings. His tours were selling out arenas. Then the Vegas influence crept in. The suits got wider, the lapels got bigger, the open shirts got lower. The look drifted further and further from the dusty boots and simple stages that country fans had grown up loving. Now, for the rock audience, that was nothing. But for the traditional country crowd, it felt like a betrayal. Letters flooded into his fan club. Critics wrote pieces about how he'd lost the plot. Country radio quietly started preferring other artists. Glenn caught the message. He pulled back, went more traditional in the early 80s. But here's what's interesting to think about now, all these years later. The look Glen Campbell was criticized for, very similar to what Porter Wagoner had been praised for a decade earlier. The difference wasn't the rhinestones, the difference was the decade. The difference was what fans expected from him specifically. That's a lesson that cuts deep, that sometimes what gets you celebrated in one era gets you criticized in the next. And that brings us to the most controversial outfit in country tour history, the one we've been building toward. The one that had people talking from Nashville all the way to Washington, D.C. By the late 1990s, Shania Twain was the biggest country artist on the planet. Come On Over went on to become the best-selling album ever recorded by a female solo artist in music history. And her Come On Over tour outfits, they sent shockwaves across the industry. Shania performed in bare midriffs, crop tops, low-slung pants, outfits that showed more skin than anything a major country artist had worn on tour before. Fan letters poured in on both sides. Industry voices went on record saying it wasn't right for the genre. Talk shows debated it. Entertainment news covered it like a national event. And then something remarkable happened. Younger women across America, daughters and granddaughters of country music fans, saw Shania Twain on that stage and felt something click. They bought the album, they came to the shows, they brought their mothers. The audience grew, the genre grew, the tents got bigger. Now, you can have your own view on whether the outfits were appropriate. That's a fair and honest conversation to have. But what's hard to argue with is this. Shania Twain, on that controversial tour, introduced country music to a generation that might never have found it otherwise. Here's what ties every single one of these stories together. Every outfit that shocked people at the time, every rhinestone suit, every sequined gown, every bare midriff was criticized in the moment but celebrated later. Every single one. Porter Wagoner's suits are now preserved in museums and celebrated as American folk art. Dolly's look is considered iconic American style. Tanya Tucker is a legend. Glen Campbell is in the Country Music Hall of Fame. And Shania Twain is one of the best-selling music artists in history. The people who were scandalized? Nobody remembers their names. The artists who had the courage to be exactly who they were, on that stage, under those lights, in front of God and everybody, those are the ones we're still talking about today. Real talent, real conviction, real artistry, it outlasts every controversy, every time. So here's what we want to know from you. Do you remember the controversy that sparked from these outfits? Which one is most memorable to you? Also, what artists and outfits did we forget? Comment below and you might just see your suggestion in an upcoming video. Until next time, keep it country and keep it real.
And for hours are just gentle on my mind.